stay seated, at least for the moment anyway. And by the looks of the crowd, it looks like a lot of you did not get the message that I was going to be replacing Rick today. So I'm glad to see you all here. Welcome. Rick is welcoming a new grandchild, so he's fine, but he's just not on this side of the country. We'll start off with music today by none other than, I think you may have heard of him, Charlie Robin, and with Bob Hamilton accompanying him.
Let's actually give Bob Hamilton a hand, because this man has been coming out every time we need him for years, and he's such a great support for us. He always loves when it comes, because he gets to be wonderfully creative when he has the music committee we currently have, because there's so many great musicians in the music committee this year, the past few years. I'm doing something that's a little different. I'm especially inspired because the elections are coming up. Sorry to bring that up. I know, sore point. But specifically about the pride in our communities, pride in our country. And I was especially inspired by this particular rendition, inspired by the rendition by Tennessee Ernie Ford of This Is My Country, Don Ray and Al Jacobs. Okay. This is my country, land of my birth. This is my country, grandest on earth. I pledge thee my allegiance, America the bold, for this is my country to have and to hold. What difference is if I hail from north or south, or east or west? My heart is filled with love for all of these. I only know I swell with pride, and deep within my breast I thrill to see Old Glory paint the breeze. With hand upon my heart, I'm thankful for my native land, for all I love is here within her gates. My soul is rooted deeply in the soil on which I stand, for these are mine, my own United States. This is my country, land of my choice. This is my country, hear my proud voice. I pledge thee my allegiance, America the bold, for this is my country to have and to hold.
Nice job, Charlie. Now we know why we let him in the club. So, actually, that's not totally a joke. There was a member in the early days named Jess Barber, and he's noted in the thing that we invited him to the club after he came as a guest and sang one number. Decided we needed somebody who could sing, so obviously that's not me. With our invocation, Tim Carlson.
Thank you, Mr. President. It figures that a Scandinavian would stand before you on this special day celebrating White Pass in a ski sweater, and also celebrating the fact that last year I got to ski because I had a hip replacement. So I wanted to do one thing, which is to recognize that theology has a great background to it, and Norse gods were part of it, and of course Ure, the Norse god of skiing, and snow is to be mentioned today, as well as Skadi, who was actually the goddess of skiing in Norse mythology, and so, we were equal opportunity very early on. It's wonderful to be here to celebrate the out of doors, the wonder that really is White Pass. Last year I got a chance to ski on Easter Sunday, and you couldn't have found a more beautiful condition. So if you'll join with me in bowing our heads and a word of prayer. Great Spirit and Creator, look upon us today with your blessings for our fellowship. And Great Spirit, as we honor the wonder of fellowship with you in the out of doors in the sport of skiing, and we specifically ask our speakers today and all of us who partake in the beauty of White Pass for the following: the prayer of Uller. Come snow, fall fast, fall slow. Let the inches be shown, come snow, come snow. Blessed earth, bestow, make white our peaks, make full our bowls, come snow, come snow. From here to fro, let the snow god be praised, let his gifts be shown. We treasure from your great creator all your gifts, and especially the gift of our fellowship today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tim. Even more appropriate, we're having this over lunch today and food, and when I moved to Minnesota, the head of Scandinavia in America, I've discovered that the only spice they have is salt. So, also white. All our guests today, we'd like to welcome you. I'm glad you're here. I know we have a lot of them today, so thank you and welcome. And before we get underway totally with the program, I'd like to point out that this is the beginning of Native American Heritage Month. November, as you know, we are celebrating and acknowledging many of the various groups and whatnot, and Native American obviously is one of the most important. And for that, I would like to start today's meeting with the following acknowledgement. The practice of land acknowledgement represents a commitment to a culture of inclusion that begins with recognizing the indigenous people of the Confederated Tribes and Bands of the Yakima Nation. We acknowledge the indigenous peoples who are the original inhabitants of the lands that our community is built on today, and pay our respect to their tribal members, past and present. So, welcoming and thank you. And thanks to our Native American. We'll hear more about our Native American heritage through this month, and we're pleased that the committee is putting all that together. We have some blue badges to present today, and I happen to have them here, and they go to Tim McGran and Wendy Hensley. Are you here? There's Wendy, and there's Tom. Yes. Let's see now. I'm going to get these right. Which is which? Yeah. We have to trade. I don't give you a blue badge until I get a red badge. There you go.
Thank you.
Congratulations. I'll take your red ones.
This has been very difficult to get this.
Yeah, you've been up here several times.
I've been up here several times, but thanks, Bob. Been a year and a half, so great.
Here, I'll take your red badge. There you go. For those of you who are guests or not, that means that these are new members who have completed some Rotary education and are now really full-fledged members. One of the great events that we do every year, as we well know, is Operation Harvest. This year it was led by Sherry Bissell and David McKinney. And I'd like to invite them up here to the podium along with Pam Cleaver, who is representing the Yakima Rotary Trust. Yeah. As you know, Pam is a recovering accountant, and so as a result, she deals with numbers, and we'll have her start.
Thank you, John. I want to take a minute since I have the podium, to talk about Yakima Rotary Trust. It is not the Rotary Foundation, and it is not Rotary Charities, which are part of each club. The Yakima Rotary Trust is made up of members from all three clubs. We have 3 members from Sunrise, 3 members from downtown, and 6 members from Sunrise. Ooh, this is what happens when you practice in the car on the way down. 6 members from Sunrise, 6 members from Southwest, and 9 from downtown. Of those members, the president-elect and president are part of Rotary Trust, and that makes up the governing board of Rotary Trust. And what Rotary Trust was set up to do was set up to accept donations from Rotarians and non-Rotarians. And so when people leave us bequests, wills, and donations, we are to take that money and to make Yakima even a better place than it is. So we had an anonymous donation from a fellow Rotarian a couple years ago, and that amount that we've received so far is $750,000. Yeah, pretty cool, pretty cool. So in this person's will, they said what they wanted to do is for us to take the income from that and to designate it to Operation Harvest. And like many of your investments this year, perhaps it didn't do quite as well, and so that amount wouldn't have amounted to a lot. So this year, also in the will, it was provided that at the sole discretion of Rotary Trust, we could designate up to 5% of the balance in there and write a check to Operation Harvest. And so that amount this year is $34,000. The board approved, and that is what is going to be given to Operation Harvest. And just as a shameless plug on behalf of Rotary Trust, it's just amazing when we can get this money and make a difference in our community. And Rotarians rock. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Pam. And I want to say thank you to all the Rotarians who participated in Operation Harvest this year. So we're going to go through a couple of quick statistical numbers here for you. So 150 Operation Harvest signs were updated this year and put out across the community, which was just great. We have to do that every single year to update the day that it's going to be collected in October. We put a big sign up and updated a sign across Yakima Avenue, of course. 2 Rotarians stepped up to sponsor 15,000 paper bags this year. Mike McKinney from McKinney Glass and Reagan Myers from Standard Paint underwrote the cost of those bags this year. 57 volunteers and their partners or spouses or kids, if they were slave drivers, helped to staple the operation flyers to 16,800 bags, which were ultimately distributed. 66 volunteers and their families and friends and coworkers distributed bags to 76 different routes in Yakima, Sela, Glebe, Natchez, and Moxie. One Rotarian in particular, Teresa Atkinson, took on one route out in Moxie that delivered 750 bags to just that one route. Avoid that route if you can, unless you've got a big team of people that can help you. 79 volunteers, along with their families and friends, went back out to those same neighborhoods to do all the collections. 32 volunteers then worked at the collection site on October 8th at the State Fair parking lot, and included kids from, which were all Rotarians, but of course people from the Ike Interact Club and Davis Athletes for Community, along with other volunteers from the food banks that we support. So now Sherry's going to give you a little bit more detail on all the rest of it.
I have the numbers you want to hear, the totals, so I have the good numbers. So the total amount of food collected was just over 85,000 pounds. There will be more food collected from Eisenhower High School. They did their own food drive, and bless them, and they will be getting that on Monday, I believe. So, and there's some more food at Ray's IGA as well. 196 Rotarians, community members, Rotary clubs, and the Yakima Rotary Trust, who just donated the $34,000, makes up our cash total. Drum roll, please. Cash total is $62,430 in cash. So nice job. So our recipients for the Operation Harvest food and cash donations are 9 local food banks, and I feel like we don't get those food bank names out there enough, so I'm going to read them to you. This is where all of that goes. 2, the Salvation Army, Yakima Rotary Food Bank, OIC, St. Michael's, Sela Food Bank, Seventh-day Adventist Food Bank, Sunrise Outreach Center, St. Vincent's, and Highland Food Bank. So those are the recipients of all of that food and cash. Thank you, Yakima community. Thank you, Rotarians from all 3 Yakima clubs. Thanks to Chris Brown at Ray's IGA stores, because he was a collection site, which helped out a lot this year. Thanks to Carolyn and Lorna, of course, for keeping track of everything and helping David and I every day for 2 months, basically. And I have one special thanks, and he's probably not going to like me very much, but Mr. Pete Bansmer deserves a huge round of applause. This man does more than y'all ever know. I'm just saying. This food drive, and this is not cliche, this is the truth. would not happen without that man right there, I'm telling you. Pete, you are amazing. Thank you so much for your dedication. You're amazing. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Pete. Thank you, Sherry, David, the Rotary Trust. Operation Harvest is a really important activity for this club, and it seems to get better and better every year, and there's so much need in our community that this is just an amazing thing to do. We certainly thank that anonymous donor as well. Sergeant at Arms, Mr. none other than Mike Hummel.
All right, thank you, John. For those of you that saw my last Sergeant at Arms, it was at least, I believe, halfway entertaining. I did it about my youngest son named Jack. We had some good laughs, and as I sat down to prepare for this one, I realized that maybe I can't live up to the expectation that I have set for myself with the humor that was brought in the last one. So when I was struggling to come up with a topic, I thought, what's going through my head right now is a little bit different, and so we're going to lean into that. So my offering for you today is a little unorthodox. Excuse me. I will not vocalize the penalties. I ask that you keep an eye on the screen, and you'll see when the penalties pop up. It's something that I have titled Down the Rabbit Hole, a Sergeant at Arms prep internal monologue. And I don't know about you guys, but there's an internal monologue for me that never stops. So I'll share that with you here. All right, let's see. Sergeant at Arms, what do you got? I'm going to need something good here. My last couple of Sergeant at Arms were pretty entertaining. I'm going to need to bring my A game. Damn it, I'm not that funny. I fear I may have set a precedent that I can't live up to. Come on, think. Sergeant at Arms, Sergeant at Arms. What's funny about Sergeant at Arms? What was the name of that one guy in Animal House? The ROTC antagonist. He was a Sergeant at Arms at that hearing where they tried to kick the Deltas out of school. Oh, this is going to drive me nuts. Niedermeyer. Douglas C. Niedermeyer. Man, I nailed that. That's not bad. Maybe I can do something with this. Animal House is funny. Where have I seen this guy before? I mean, other than Animal House. He's got a very familiar face. Maestro. He's the Maestro on Seinfeld. He plays the Maestro. Man, I love Seinfeld. That show is so good. Such a timeless comedy. It's still funny today. Come to think of it, there are a lot of famous actors who had bit parts in Seinfeld. Some huge names, actually. That's me typing on a computer, by the way. Jon Favreau, Jeremy Piven, Molly Shannon. Oh, Bryan Cranston. Man, Bryan Cranston as dentist Tim Whatley, amazing. The regifting episode, so hilarious. Who'd have thought that Tim Whatley would go on to play the most dramatic role in the history of television? God, that's another great show. Breaking Bad, also amazing. Maybe I need to watch that again. How's my wife never seen Breaking Bad? I mean, seriously, who hasn't seen Breaking Bad? And once you're done with Breaking Bad, it just leaves you to Better Call Saul, which is equally fantastic. You know, Bob Odenkirk is an underrated actor. I mean, he's great in everything he does. I wonder what else he's done that I can check out. He was on Seinfeld? Of course he was. He was Elaine's wannabe doctor boyfriend. Man, everyone was on Seinfeld at some point. Jerry must be so loaded. I wonder what he's pulling in just on royalties alone nowadays. I mean, come on, that show's on TV 24/7, and it went off the air like 25 years ago. Holy, 40 to 60 million a year? What? Making sure my slides are keeping up. Can't see, I'm sorry. What? Man, I suck at life. I'm not going to make 40 million in my lifetime, let alone on annual royalties from a 25-year-old product. Well done, Jerry. No wonder he collects cars. Oh, I need a new car. When am I supposed to find time to test drive cars? Most days I barely have time to eat, let alone test drive cars. Wait a minute. Have I eaten today? No, I don't think that I have. That might explain the pain in my stomach. Okay, let's go get something to eat. Then we're going to come up with a hilarious Sergeant at Arms presentation for the Rotary Club. But first, snacks. Thank you. I understand I have another responsibility today. You may not know because you're pinch hitting as president, but am I raffling these off, auctioning? What are we doing here with these, with the Husky tickets? All right, so we got Husky tickets. John Atkinson's got Husky tickets. Tomorrow's game, 7:30 against Oregon State. Oregon State is number 24 in the country. 22-yard line, lower section, covered seats. He's got 2 of them. Tomorrow's game again, 7:30 against Oregon State. And then Saturday, the 19th, those same tickets are available versus Colorado. So if you're interested in those, contact John, or I'm sure you can also contact the Rotary office, and Lorna can help you out. That's it for those? Perfect.
Good job, Mike. That's kind of how all our minds work, going from one thing to another constantly. We have a great program today, and here to introduce that is none other than one of our program chairs this year, Bruce Bacon.
President John and fellow Rotarians, it's my pleasure to introduce Ricky Cooper and Kevin McCarthy as our speakers today. Ricky began ski racing at White Pass at the age of 12 and has been connected to White Pass ever since. After college, she came back to White Pass as a coach and ski patroller. She became the full-time accounting department manager in 2010. She's a wife to Bryce and a mother to 2 boys and 1 girl. She's very busy, especially since she took on the general manager position, replacing Kevin McCarthy in 2021. Kevin came to White Pass from New Hampshire in 1976, and after college began working full-time at White Pass in 1979. In 1984, Kevin was chosen to replace Nelson Bennett as a general manager, and he had 36 years of successful management. We also have a new ownership group that took over this last year, most of whom are in attendance today. White Pass is a treasure to our community and to the entire state. We are lucky to have the continuity of management and now the continuity of local ownership. Please welcome Ricky and Kevin.
You want this one or that one? Some 4. Well, thank you for having us today. You know, as we start, I'm going to, because this is probably the last time you'll see me, but anyway, I'm going to let, Ricky will introduce herself and give some little history on her little intro, but also in attendance are most of the new owner group. Adam Dolson. Come on, Adam, stand up. Got Andrew Sunquist and Kate and Eli. They're here. David and Chelsea Severn. Who else did I see? There, Dan is hiding behind me. Dan Plath. And where's Patrick? Patrick Smith. Maybe he'll show up. But anyways, more on this group in a few minutes. But, let me start with, we had a lot of changes this past year and a half, if you will, at White Pass. And in a sense, it's been a generational change. But at the same time, as the saying goes, the more it changes, the more it stays the same, and that's really the hope. And you'll hear it throughout our little talk today that the changes are substantial, but at the same time, the ski area that you've known for almost 70 years now, is really, will probably stay the same in a lot of ways, the way it's operated, the way it's developed. So again, the more we change, the more we stay the same, and that's a thank you to this new group and a thank you to Ricky here. But 14 months ago, I think, is when you took it over. July 1st, 2021. But as Bruce said, I spent 36 years as GM, and it's interesting. You come to a point where it's like, it's time to change. And it's not because, I didn't feel I could continue on, but it was just, the next generation, you've got to believe in the next generation. And certainly having Ricky available made it an easy decision. And I've said this before in front of her, and I'll say it again, it was the easiest and the best decision I've ever made, in 40 plus years at the ski area. So I think we're in great hands. Because, the one thing, Ricky started at White Pass, when you're 12? I won't go into too much of your history. I'll let you. But, she 10 or 12. But the decision was really simple because she knows the operations. She was in the, worked for us full-time for 12 years prior to stepping into my position. She's, we really did up our game in the intelligence in the back office. And the great thing is that she has so much respect on the crew. And I knew that, and it sure made you feel great, because not once in the 14 months has any manager, anyone in the company, and I really tried to get out and talk to everyone every day that I'm there, come to me and said, Ricky kind of wants to do this, but what do you think? Not once. So, the respect that Ricky has within the staff just is, I hope you recognize that, but it's complete, and it's really, it was the right time for me, and I can't explain why or how you come up with it. It's not a date. It's just that at some point in time, it's time, and I don't know if Ricky would agree that it was the right time. She had 2 little boys at the time, and I love telling this story too. I'm now out at the reception area, and she'll come out and sit down with me, often, and just for chats, we'll talk about things. Well, one day she walks out and she's sitting next to me, and she just pulls out her phone. I don't know, you're probably 3-4 months into it, or whatever, and she just holds up a picture of an ultrasound. And it was young Britta, about to be, who is the cutest, easiest baby I've ever seen. And she is amazing. But anyway, so to say Ricky's plate is full is an understatement, but I'm there to help her as much as possible, Kathleen Goyette also, and we're committed to helping Ricky, but it's amazing what she can do on her own. And, with that, I'm not going away. Well, I'm going to start going away more and more. But anyway, I'm going to let Ricky introduce herself. Granted, she's been around. She said as we walked in, well, I'm kind of old news. I go, yeah, you're really not old news. Let her introduce herself to you, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the other big change over the past year. So anyway, the new general manager, sort of new, Ricky Cooper.
Well, thanks. That's really great. Kevin is way too kind in his compliments of me. Unfortunately, though, he took up most of the things I was going to say about myself, so that's fine, though. I think I've been at White Pass for, I think this is going to be my 20th actual season there. I started as an 18-year-old coaching the ski racing program after I was done racing and realized I was not going to make it beyond, some junior Olympic level stuff. Let's see. When did I take a patrol position? Maybe 2007. I think that's when I graduated from college. So I took a year off after college to come do some ski patrolling for a year, and actually ended up getting an on-the-job injury during my second season doing that, and ended up in the administrative office after I broke some ribs. Yeah, so that was the best L&I claim, I think, in the history of L&I claims. Because at the time, The controller was taking a position at a fruit warehouse in Yakima and needed a replacement. And I put my hand up and said, I think I can do that. I may have oversold my abilities a little bit to Kevin, but thankfully he trusted me and let me take the role, and that was the start of a really great future for me. So I have really appreciated the trust that Kevin's put in me over the years. What year did we decide your heart surgery was? 2011. I think I'd been in the administrative office for 2 years at that time, and Kevin needed a heart surgery, and I remember him mentioning to me that he had floated my name as maybe third in line of somebody who might be good to run the company if the surgery did not go well. But as a 20-something, I mean, it was a terrifying concept, but it first put that thought in my head that maybe I could do that job. So I've been thinking about it ever since, and finally in 2021, right after a great pandemic year, Kevin kind of pressured me a little bit harder to really seriously think about the role, and the prior board was kind enough to agree with him that I might be a good decision. And about 2 months later said, hey, just so you know, there's also an interested group of buyers now. So have a great first year. Yeah. I don't know, anything else I should say about myself, Kevin? Man. I don't know. No, I think that's it. I mean, I love White Pass. I've been here my entire career. I don't plan on making any huge changes. I've had an excellent experience working with the new ownership group this year. It's been so fun to have all this new excitement and enthusiasm for where White Pass is going in the future. And I'm just happy to be there, and I'm so lucky to go to work every day.
You know, how Ricky got to White Pass, though, where are you? She's from the Squim area.
I am.
And they were ski racing at Hurricane Ridge. Hurricane Ridge is a little rope toe in a palma in the Olympic National Park. And it sort of operates sometimes. And the team decided to come to White Pass and join our race team. So there were 4 families. Did I get this right?
Three families, yeah, from the Olympic Peninsula. Yep. And Hurricane Ridge didn't open for an entire year, and White Pass had been kind enough to allow that team to come train at White Pass. So that's how I ended up over here, on a 4-hour commute every weekend.
Yeah, what was it? Parents would alternate, and the kids would drive every day.
Ski racing is not a cheap sport for anybody, and especially if you have to travel 4 hours just to get to a mountain. But White Pass was kind enough to include, 1, a season's pass with participants of the race program, and 2, we just cycled parents. So one parent would take all 3 families one weekend, and the next parent the next one, and we were able to make it work to come all the way out to White Pass and ski.
And I do remember looking up one day and watching one of the racers ski away from the finish line, for a training run, and run smack dab into a tower. Anyway, all right, let's go. She still stayed with us. But the other great, we've talked a bit about, mentioned the new group, and that started in 2014. We had a difficult snow year, and as you all know, ski seasons don't always perform. I mean, they're not always perfect. It's not if it will happen, it's when. And to that point, the banks had been really cooperative, but things had changed in 2008 in the banking world, as most of you really know. And all of a sudden, they came down pretty hard on us. I mean, we were in no great financial trouble, but boy, did they put some pressure on us. And at that point, the board, and there's a number of you in the room, we need to make a change here. We need to have a little more, I guess, financial strength, and at the same time, we started looking at our ages and back to the next generation. And you've got to start, again, I believe in the next generation, and I believe in the next generation and the owners make that group. So we started to quietly look around. We wanted local. Sig Fossum really pushed on that. We wanted, young, enthusiastic, and it went on for many years until April of 2001, Mark Holtzinger and Andrew Sundquist were having a little chat about tree fruit roots and whatnot. And of course, the discussion quickly turned to skiing because Andrew and the family are up there all the time. And Mark said, you know what? I think it's time you stepped up to the plate, maybe got a few friends, and took a look at White Pass. The next week, I was sitting down with Adam and Andrew, had a discussion, and so I asked them, I said, so why do you want to, what's your interest in White Pass? He says, well, after watching what's going on in the rest of the industry, we've grown up at White Pass, we love White Pass, the way it continues to grow and whatnot, and we just want to protect that. And, and that's what I needed to hear. And from there on, moved kind of quickly at times, kind of slow at times, but by the end of the year, we had made they picked up David, Pat, and Dan, and the 5 of them, with their wives' approval, I'm sure, moved on. So it's just, it's what we took our time looking for that support, and we could not be happier with the results. I mean, it is just, almost a godsend that we found this group, and they've got interests, they're active, they're young, and we've got to give them a little time to feel out where do we go next. I've got plans. I'm impatient, but we've got to give them time, and I hope the whole community does, because it'll be they're smart. They're really smart, and it's going to be fun to watch. Hopefully, I'll be involved a little bit, but thank them, support them, and again, be a little patient. And Ricky has a lot of ideas, and that's the beauty of it. It's it's a match made in heaven in a lot of ways. So, do you want to say much about the new group, the direction that we might be headed? I mean, we don't have definites yet.
I don't want to put words in their mouths, no.
Okay. Well, but you've got to help lead them along. So, but anyway,
Sure, yeah, I mean, I can share some of It's kind of a lot more intermediate terrain that allows you to access up from Dark Meadows and back down around the lake. And then this summer we finished an upper loop. I should have brought my map up here. I can show you later though. But now there's a nice big loop up on top of the Talus Slope that's going to really add a lot of kilometers to the. The practice loop is amazing, and I love that in the morning for a quick little snowshoe around. Oh, you can't hear me? All right, I'll shout a little bit louder. So yeah, a practice loop, Heatherstone loop, and then an upper loop that we're still determining a name for. Yes, Deanna from Montana?
There's been a lot of rumors or talk about expansion of the lodges. What's the immediate plan or near-term plan for that?
There's no immediate plan for that. We did have approval for basically doubling the size of High Camp, which maybe that's where we need to spend our money. Maybe that is the immediate need. But I think we're taking a little bit of time to reassess that and figure out, is that the best use of our dollars? There's also approval for a base area building in addition to the regular base lodge. And so we're still working on plans for what that looks like and the exact location that might go. So maybe a couple years. That's, I think, my answer. Yeah.
Yeah, Russ?
Kevin, you mentioned possible season parking. Is there any plans? Repeat the question, Kevin.
Are there any plans for additional parking?
We don't really have anywhere that we can go in the immediate future. We kind of squared off some lots this summer to add a few more spaces where we could and cleared out some dead wood to really maximize the space that we have. But without a new master plan and new approval from the Forest Service, we're capped out at the moment.
Yeah, and COVID has been very, very good to us. Really, the place just exploded. But when parking is full, the lodges are full, the lifts are full, the slopes, right now, the capacities throughout the ski area kind of work. So, that's where the SE groups of the world come in, and that's where we say, okay, if we increase parking, we increase the number of tickets we sell, what's it do to the rest, and what's it do to the, really the experience? Increases lift line, increases the back line, yeah, the experience. So it's a nice problem to have. Our greatest challenge in the future will be getting the Forest Service to move fast. That's the industry-wide, getting the Forest Service to be able to move fast enough for the public, for the ski areas to expand facilities. That really is, it's a kind of a hidden challenge, and just don't keep cutting their budget. Yeah. Kelly.
I was curious if you were getting a lot of pressure from Vail Resorts and their big takeovers, and that helped kind of motivate the local ownership to get involved.
I don't think we had any interest in Vail. No.
This is their disaster.
Yes. I guess, the only impact we've had from Vail has been Stevens Pass customers being
It's been great.
dissatisfied with their experience there. So, yeah.
Best advertisement is not being Vail or Altera. And that's really, that's what I got, that little, Adam and Andrew conversation, and certainly passed through to, Dan and David and Patrick, let's not be that.
Yes. For your off-season, have you ever thought of a zip line operation?
I think there's a lot more interest in downhill mountain biking is the question I normally get a lot of. I know that's a difficult industry to get into. It's pretty expensive to build trails. It's expensive to insure for. So I don't know. I think summer opportunities would be great. I think it's going to take a lot more due diligence to figure out if that's the right fit for White Pass or not. But
Yeah, summer's tough in the sense that if it's lift involved, like I love the zip line at Bachelor. Oh my God, 60 miles an hour down the hill. It's just really something. But really, what the industry has found is you need 4 profit loss centers in the summer to make it work, like zip lines, mountain biking, restaurants, lift rides. So, it's really, it's quite an undertaking, and there again, you're back to the Forest Service. So It's not as easy as it looks. It's pretty disruptive to maintenance and construction, but it is definitely something that this discussion with SE Group will take, because there's 7 months of the year that we don't have income. So the zip line's fun.
But we do work all year. I mean, those lifts need a lot of maintenance to stay in good condition.
So I'm still relatively new to the area. I'm wondering, so you might have these programs and then you can highlight them, but I'm also wondering, if not, has there been consideration to include programming for Whites Pass that it's such a great sport, but under-resourced families have a very hard time breaking into it. And so I just wonder, are there initiatives that maybe some of our families that don't have the ability to break into that, to experience how great of a location it is and the activities there?
I couldn't agree with you more. My children play a lot of soccer here in Yakima, and I would say with zero exceptions, his entire soccer team has never been skiing or snowboarding before. And I just think that's such a tragedy. They're so close to this amazing outdoor resource, and their families have never taken them up there. But we are really lucky that David Severn has really taken on a huge undertaking of trying to get some school districts involved in some programs and really trying to take on exactly that challenge. So I think you'll see a lot of improvements in that in the coming years.
Yeah, and for many years we've had, it's called SOS, which is really, it takes inner city kids, at-risk kids, and it's a nationwide program. And in the end, it's not so much about becoming skiers or snowboarders, it's getting these kids out of that, as I like to call it, 10-block area, getting them out to see what is available in life. And that's the beauty of it all. So there are programs, absolutely, and we've been pretty supportive of those.
What is your biggest environmental challenge?
Snow. I want more snow.
You mean in getting approvals?
Getting approval or just problems in operating the company because of environmental concerns?
Yeah, we're currently working through, for example, a new water rights application so that we can have access to some of the ample water that we really do have at White Pass for use in snowmaking, for example, in the future, and to make sure that we can add more guest facilities and have drinking water connections to those. So that's been one challenge that I hadn't anticipated before taking the GM role, is everything related to just septic systems and drinking water and pipes and all that stuff underground.
Yeah, we've got too much water.
Yeah.
In riparian zones, and that becomes difficult. Spotted owl still is there. So it's really more the groups that will attach themselves to those regulations. You can always mitigate them, but it's and aside from the expansion, it's really been pretty easy. But the Forest Service has made a lot of regulations, and now they've got to, before figuring out how to deal with them, and it's difficult. But water's tough. Too much of it. We think it's a good thing sometimes. Craig Gilbert used to like to want to divert some of it. Well, again, one more. Oh, look at who's there.
How much is the beer going to cost at High Camp this year?
About 8% more.
One more. Has the SC group made any recommendations on changes to lifts specifically for me? Chair 5 seems to be a spot there's a lot of terrain in there, and it's a slow chair. Not as slow as, obviously, the old rivet chair at Chair 4, but Chair 5 seems to be kind of it takes a while to get out to 6, and I'm just wondering if that group identified that as an issue at the resort.
No, they haven't yet. I mean, it's certainly something we could talk about. I've had people throw in ideas of, you should move Chair 5 over to Chair 4, put in a high-speed quad there, bring one down towards Miriam Creek Basin. You know, I mean, there's a lot of things that could and would be great. I'm really glad that Kevin chose to do it the way that he did initially, because it saved us, what, $4 million to make that a fixed grip as opposed to a high-speed detachable. And I don't think we would have made it through those couple of bad years if you would have spent that extra $4 million. No, I don't think so. So I love that chair for that reason, right? I know the uphill capacity is actually, I think, the same as the basin,
Yeah,
right?
fixed or detached is the
Because you
same.
can fit more chairs on the same line. It just doesn't move as fast. So the ride is a little bit slower, but you don't spend any time waiting in that line, right? So, I mean, it's kind of a toss-up there on if that's the right decision to make. It does feel slower than the other ones, and I think that's partly because of terrain. That's partly because it actually does move slowly. But yeah, so there's a lot of ideas in there. I'd much rather just throw in an extra lift that accesses new terrain, but we'll see. Yeah.
I just want to know where that new lift might be. I have an idea.
Yeah. all ideas are good ideas, and then ask the Forest Service what they say.
Thank you both very much. Certainly, that is one of the great assets of our area is the White Pass ski area. We have a film that in the museum collection on this land. Yakima, this land is Yakima or something like that, and a large portion is on the attractions of the White Pass ski area, and this begins in the 1860s. So this goes back a long way, and it's great to hear that it keeps improving, and with new ownership and with new ideas and thought going into it, the better it is. So in your name, there'll be a gift made to Polio Plus campaign. So thank you again very much. Next week's program, which actually, some of you who remember from last year, will be the Veterans Day program, actually on Veterans Day week, instead of the week after, like we did last year, and which I got pummeled for. But other than that, it will be Peggy Ludwig, and her father, I believe was a doctor, and he's going to be talking about, she is going to be talking about his experiences and whatnot in World War II. And then one other thing before we adjourn, and that is remember to register for the auction. It's coming up. We're just a few weeks away. So please get your registrations in, and your friends and neighbors and family and anybody else, because the more we're there, the much